Today we're going to look at Shaq Fu, which is a Sega and Nintendo game from 1994. It was on cartridge and featured the famous basketballer Shaquille O'Neal. It's sort of a tricky way to classify this game. It is a basketball video game review, but it's not a basketball game. This was actually quite confusing at the time, but there's a few reasons why they did it. At the time, this is 94, this was around the time when Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter were the games to play. And so really, like, Shaq was a household name and they were just capitalizing on the market. They were trying to create a competitor, or at least, let's face it, a cash grab for selling quite a lot of cartridges. The game itself was produced by Delphine Software, but it was published by Electronic Arts. Its reviews were pretty bad. Sort of got like 40% out of 100 reviews. They were quite critical of it. There was actually a website that was dedicated to people donating the cartridges, and they'll dispose them free of charge, like put them in a crusher or something. There was also a remake made only a few years ago, which is a little bit different. Apparently, it's a bit more of like a brawler, like Double Dragon sort of style, where you basically walk to the right and fight everyone that comes at you. So the packaging is again very 90s. It's got the glowing kind of airbrushed look around the star of the show. It's got that oriental kind of look going on, and Shaq with his gold earring. Two different photos used. Interesting. It's got this Enforcer of Justice logo, which is their own little brand that they were really trying to create. They did want to make more than one as well. They wanted a sequel, but that never happened due to the abysmal sales of the first and the horrible reviews. The problem was, apparently, it was to do with a lot of things, but one of the biggest things was the lagginess of the controls, which is really the separating thing that games like Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Killer Instinct, those sort of games, they had very quick responsive controls and lots of combos. So I personally really enjoyed playing Mortal Kombat. It was one of my favorite games. I actually own a copy of this game, the Shaq Fu. I don't know how, but I do have a copy of it sitting in my drawer on Sega Mega Drive. I don't have the cartridge cover, but I do have the cartridge. So the back cover, the front cover is quite simple really. It doesn't have the Sega little checkerboard thing. It does have the Super Nintendo version does have a huge Shaq's hand is just massive. It's quite odd to look at really, but he was 7'2" or 7'1". So again, we've got a very 90s looking background on the entire cover really. Got Shaq getting ready to perform some kung fu or something, some Shaq Fu, and really it's quite clear they were going for the Mortal Kombat audience. So come get yours. Shaq brings his awesome skill and size to a multi-world fighting game. As Shaq, use your lightning-fast shuriken and other martial arts techniques to prevail over 11 intensely evil warriors in the enforcement of justice, or choose any of the 12 warriors and fight head-to-head. Summon Voodoo's bone-shattering earthquake, rebound with Raja's shockwave sword, or lash out with Set's terrifying mummy rap. Scores of secret power moves to discover and master. And it features awesome animation from the designers of Flashback. Now, Flashback was a side-scrolling kind of puzzle game. They use rotoscoping, which is where you use real footage of someone walking and doing whatever actions, and then they digitize it. They scan it all in or photograph it, and then they redraw it, which creates really fluid movement. Prince of Persia used rotoscope as well, which you may recall. Mortal Kombat obviously used real photographs. So yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't played this for a long time, but I think they redrew, but they used rotoscope. So destroy your opponent with special power moves. Choose Shaq or one of the 11 other interdimensional martial artists. Tournament, duel, and story modes. Interesting, it's got a story mode. Battle against a computer or go head to head with another player. Okay. Yeah, okay, so you can play 1 or 2 players. It's got 24 meg. That was all about the it's all about the amount of memory that these games took up. Yeah, okay. So here's a bit of Shaq. So you got the Shaq brand. It was kind of emblazoned on lots of things at the time, and yeah, it's down the bottom there next to the Electronic Arts. So he had his own brand, and yeah, his logo was also on the shoes at the time. So the Reebok pumps on the left, and some of his other shoes that he created. I think they were Reeboks as well. But yeah, they look at the size of that shoe. That's just crazy. So let's have a bit of a look at the game. Okay, here we have the title screen. Shaq Fu, very well drawn, nice and colourful. It's got him in his Shaq branded uniform. It looks like magic shorts and his Shaq shoes. And then it just goes, if you don't press anything, it goes to little profiles on some of the enemies that you will fight against. Okay, and here we've got some of the previews. So this is 2 computer opponents just fighting each other. So you can see the animation is quite smooth, lots and lots of action. Looks fantastic actually. It's not at the level of Street Fighter. The characters are a little bit smaller. That's one thing worth noting. The little character faces up the top are a little bit cartoonish, but apparently it did use rotoscoping, so they must have used the footage and then redrawn it from scratch. So let's have a quick game. So the story is probably worth having a look at, I think. I'll just play one fight. So we'll go story. It's downtown Tokyo, and I'm checking out the local sights of my day for All-Star charity game. So there's a Pepsi sign there, and he's about to go to his charity game. Another Pepsi sign. Okay, so it's clearly sponsored by Pepsi. Alright, next. There's an old man. Okay, so Mr. Miyagi. Looks a bit like one of the guys from Big Trouble in Little China. Okay, an all-star, if that's what you mean. We have a game tonight. Would you like to come? It's going to be quite a battle, even though it's for charity. Pretty sure he's not interested in basketball. But I know, young warrior, I'm too old to be fighting, but I wish you well. You must hurry now. There is time. If you really are the magic one. Well, he went to the Lakers, so he was the magic one in '94. I'm assuming. I think so. I think that's. Okay, no time to explain. Go through this portal. Yeah, nothing strange. Find Nezu. Never talk about. Don't waste any time getting invested in the characters. Okay, then we've got this nicely drawn little top-down isometric kind of map. Reminds me a bit of Toe Jam and Earl. It's actually quite cool. They could have made a game just out of this if they had little characters and things. Anyway, so we've got different areas here. The Wasteland, the Temple, and Gargoyle's Peak. Ooh. I think we'll go to the Wasteland. Uh-oh. Grr. Notice his hands are actually smaller in the game than they are in real life. Okay. So the movements look pretty good, like Shaq especially, it's quite fluid. Having trouble registering the button presses. I think that's the main criticism they had for this game, was the lack of response. lack of response was one of the biggest criticisms. The visuals look great, like 16-bit era. Shaq himself, they must have rotoscoped him and drawn it all in. So rotoscope being where they get video or photo footage and redraw it, like I mentioned. So it looks really good, like very fluid, especially Shaq. But the movements, the button presses, there's like a lag. It's really hard to, I guess after a while you get used to it. From memory, the balance of some of the characters, I read one of the reviews, the balance isn't great. There's particular kicks or something you can do that basically just break the game. One of the beauties of the games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, even though the controls are great, and the responsive was the controls were balanced. So every character had, any character could beat any character. So it relied on your skill rather than anything else. I guess I'll see if I can beat this guy, and then we can go to the next one. We'll look at one more quickly. Music's, it's okay. It's a little bit dated compared to some of the other games of the time. Sound effects aren't bad. Look, it's average. It's just average. It's okay. Sort of, the graphics remind me a bit of Golden Axe or something. It's got that hand-drawn thing going on. I think Shaq sort of looks a bit different to the actual characters. Like they're completely hand-drawn, whereas he's clearly a rendering of a human. So I'll do one more fight, but I'll just go to the different. I'll go to the different mode. See what the duel is. Oh, here we go. So we've got actual moves. Forward, back, forward, plus A. They couldn't fit in the word forward. Okay. Alright, let's go to the duel. Select your fighter. Okay. Oh, so we can have a good look at the fighters. Okay, so we've got like a cat. Got a furry there. Got a demon. Looks like the one out of Doom. Summoner, I think it was. Set looks really smooth. Colonel. Diesel. Auroch. Voodoo. Doing a weird dance. Swaying the hips. The cloth on that looks fantastic. Some really smooth animation in some of them, and others seem a bit blocky. This guy's dancing. Raja. And Lao Tzu. Let's go him. Ah. Okay, duel. Go Lao Tzu. Oh, okay. He's not fucking around. Ah. Verse yourself. A little toe tap. Yeah, the movement's quite inconsistent with different characters. These ones look really weird. Kind of cheap and blocky. Oh, he does a fireball. That's pretty cool. Oh, there we go. Double. Forward, A. Does a teleportation fire thing. Okay, I won somehow. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Yeah, look, I think it's a bit of a harsh criticism. Like, people were probably expecting Mortal Kombat. It's definitely not that. If you chose this over Mortal Kombat, you would have regretted it, because it's just simply not as good by any stretch of the imagination. I wonder if it came out before Mortal Kombat, how people would have judged it. Whether it's a step up from some of the other previous fighting games, possibly, but it also has it reeks of being a cash grab. It's just a straight up cash grab, and capitalization on fame of of an endorsed brand and trying to merge that with a popular game of the time. So, you know, even though there was a lot of good elements to this game, there's certainly a lot of bad ones. And the biggest one is the gameplay is just nowhere near as enjoyable as Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter. So that's probably my best analysis of it. I'm not a professional in fighting games, so I played Mortal Kombat when I was young and Street Fighter, but yeah, I wouldn't know the intricacies of the balance, but certainly doesn't play very well. Like when I press the button, there's a delay, and that's really off-putting. Like there's a good, some moves there's a good, feels like a half-second delay, whereas Mortal Kombat, it's instant. As soon as you press the button, that's what's happening, whatever that move is, and so you can become really good at the game. The turning motion as well, like there's this turning animation that prevents you from, so it needs to finish, when he turns, it needs to finish the animation cycle in order to move, so there's a delay. Anyway, yeah, it's not a great game. It's like, it got like 4 out of 10 and things like that. I think that's a bit harsh. Maybe it's, 6 or something. It keeps you occupied for an afternoon, and then you'd put it in your collection and never play it again. Alright, thanks guys. Hope you enjoyed this.